Hi again, it's funkdoc as always, and this time we actually have a four-player game on a weeknight, no less. That's pretty rare for Power Grid at this point. Glad to see more people around in the U.S. evening hours, especially on the East Coast where it's pretty late at night over there. I'm on Pacific time here, but we have a four-player game with my old pal psteinx. So it's me, funkdoc, psteinx, dsscott, and amitss1 in a four-player game on the USA map, and we have Brown-Yellow-Purple-Aqua. So this is a pretty expensive overall USA map config. Because if you can't tell from the connections here, you can see the Southwest Aqua region in particular is crazy expensive on this map. Northwest isn't exactly cheap either, though it's not too bad. Like Northwest, purple Northwest, and the yellow, the Midwest, are actually pretty comparable in overall cost. Northwest just slightly more expensive overall, the way this is set up. And then the crazy cheap East Coast over here in brown. This is going to be the spot where the first player builds, I'd imagine. I want to see how a couple of these players build here. I could have bid 5 for the 3 plant. That's probably what it should go for, given that Stein was willing to pay 9 for the 4 plant. But definitely don't bid on the 5. The 5 is never worth bidding up in the first turn here. And then I have to take the 8. Because the 8 makes the most money on turn 1, even with opponents driving up coal like mad. Alright, so what plants came? This is actually looking like a really bad market here. 19, 23, and 26. So 26 will actually go under the deck, which is especially rare for a 4-player game. Much more common in 2-player, of course, with fewer plants being drawn on turn 1. I might be able to store an extra coal here. Let me think about this. 13 would leave me with 29. 29. Yeah, I can store an extra coal here and safely build. Because my opening build will not involve a $10 connection. Because each city is 10. So I would pay 10 for my first city, then 10 plus the connection cost for my second city. I don't like the build from Scott. I think Minneapolis was much better option than Cincinnati here. Because no one else is going to... I mean, it locks up more cities for yourself, I feel. I mean, Scott's build gets them closer to the cheap East Coast for step 2. But yeah, Stein was very obviously building Pittsburgh. Yeah, Pittsburgh I think should have been the first build you take here. Like, it's really valuable to get cheap cities in the early game. The early phase of the game, your first, 4 or 5 cities, those are the ones where cheap connections matter most. This is interesting. The question is this. I don't think it's worth trying to fight Stein in the East Coast because he only built one so he can build somewhere past me on turn 2. There's just not going to be enough land for the both of us, especially with Scott building pretty close to Stein here. So I think building in... you never want to start in the Southwest on the opening. That's for sure. Never start in the Southwest. That's a good rule for the USA map. I think I go Minneapolis... This is either Minneapolis, Omaha... or I go one of the twins. Or I go the 2 twins, actually. Nah. I think I do that. I think I threaten the twins here. Because this is kind of the best in-between build of where I can threaten a couple different areas here. I actually get to store an extra coal, too, which almost never happens with Plant 8. So that's very nice for me on turn 2. Anyway, I pass on all of these plants. I don't need a plant this turn because I cannot buy a plant and build a third city anyway, plus I wouldn't want to because I'd want to get lower in the turn order, I think. Scott has to buy the 10, and then amitss and Stein are going to fight over the 13. That's what's going to happen here. There may even be a bid on the 10. Yeah, I was going to say, it makes sense that there'll be a bid on the 10 here because after 10 and 13, the options are most likely going to be terrible. You can see from the fact that even Stein is bidding on the 10 when he's the player at the bottom of the turn order in the auction. He's the player who goes last. And he's willing to bid 12 for the 10 plant. That's very, very rare to see from a player of Stein's caliber. So that tells you how good this plant is in this particular situation because of all these crappy plants like 19 and 23 showing at this point to block the market. And now Scott and Stein are going to fight over the 13. 13 will be quite valuable here. Quite valuable. And Scott is kind of in a rough spot with plants to buy. They might buy the 7 because that makes the most sense in that like it kind of directly replaces the 3 for them. Like with the 3, you're buying 2 oil to power 1 city. With the 7, you're paying 7 for the plant plus 3 or 4 for an extra oil to power an extra city, which is worth 11. So buying the 7 should be at worst a break-even play. Scott instead opts for the 9, which I don't really like because functionally, having the 3 and the 9 is the same thing as the 7, but with worse turn order. That's why I might have bought the 7 in Scott's shoes. Like, Scott obviously had to buy a plant because the market is stalling really bad. Like, they have to buy a plant to move the market because Scott's stuck with a 3, which is one of the worst starting plants in terms of raw efficiency. It's just, I might have gone with the 7 over... Like, I usually tend to prefer going with the 7 over the 9 when I start with a 3. Like, whereas if I have a plant like 4, then the 9 fits much better with me having the 4. Because then I'm running both coal and oil, so it makes more sense. And there's no reason for me to buy extra coal because I should move to the bottom of the turn order this turn. I just need my 2 more coal so I can run the plant this turn, power my 2 cities. Yep. Okay, 20, 29, 34, and 35 came. So 35 will go under the deck. That's a more common step 3 plant compared to 26. Oil's going to be really good in this game because of 26 going under. Thus, the 21. This is why I'm glad to be at the bottom of the auction. 20 and 21 are both going to fetch a good price here. Stein's willing to pay 25 for the 20. And 20 is typically a plant that is not that well liked. I'll put 1 click in on the 20 here. 1. Just 1. And that 1 gets me the plant. Huh, okay. I guess it makes sense because I'm at the bottom, I get the cheapest coal, so 20 makes the most sense for me. Problem is I can't build to 4 cities this turn. I just have to take Duluth here. Duluth cost me 15. And then 22 comes after the 21 auction. Actually, I didn't see how much 21 went for. If Stein didn't win it, it must have gone for a lot, especially with Stein having coal stored. Stein bids for 22, wins it, and Scott once again is kind of left out in the cold in this market. 23 is not really a great plan in general, and especially not when uranium still costs 10 each, so not good news for me. All right. And Scott actually buys the 23. Okay, so let's see. 24 came... 29... 40, 42. 42 will go under the deck. Now I have a problem here because I need a 5th city, and I don't have a good way to get it at the moment, really. That's kind of the problem with this build. I could jump into St. Louis, because I imagine that might not be too much of a priority for Scott. Stein is set up really well in terms of efficiency here, which is good news. The thing is, though, with Scott not running... The thing is, though, with Stein having so much green... With Stein having so much green and Scott not running any coal at all, coal might actually stay fairly cheap for the rest of us here, and that's really important for my 20 plant. I think us players with 21 and 20 are at an advantage right now. And I, of course, have no reason to buy a plant. I actually regret buying extra coal. I need to think. Because I cannot get to... Yeah, I cannot afford a... This sucks. This really sucks. This really sucks. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is bad. This is so bad. So bad for me. Yeah, I cannot get to 5 this turn, which is, again, very bad news for me. I'll at least buy all the $3 coal to maybe entice amitss to buy more oil. I'll do this and then just build Fargo this turn. What I can do next turn, what I could do is jump into most likely Boise, because I have a feeling amitss will not take both Seattle and Boise. I'll jump into whichever one of those amitss doesn't take next turn. I think that's my plan. Gives me some decent safe cities for step 2 as well that other people shouldn't really get into. Let's see, 24, 29, 30, 34, so 30 came. So 40 will go under the deck this turn. Stein not buying resources makes sense because, you know, there's a chance that Stein might replace the 4 plant at any time here. So it's not good for Stein to store extra resources on the 4, because if he buys a new plant with coal stored in the 4, then that coal will just be lost. Wasted money. I'll actually buy... You know what I'll actually do here? Was, since 20 being a low-numbered plant, what I might do here... What I might do... I might buy a 4 plant next turn? Maybe? I'm actually second from bottom in the turn order right now. I'm actually going to be bottom because Scott's going to build something. I expect Scott might jump into the East Coast here. Or no, Scott will actually stay running the 23. Interesting. $15, okay, yes, the market is going to shit now. Stein might buy the 15, though. Well, no, he won't. Stein's not a big fan of 15 in general, I do know that much. Also, I don't need to buy another plant here because, yeah, coal is getting really, really cheap. No need for me to buy any plants. Of course. Still need to build a 5. Need to make sure, and then... I'm really just hurting myself buying the extra coal, it seems. Like, I'm really expecting other players to buy, like, amitss. I was really expecting amitss to, you know, store more coal, but they're not doing it. Okay, never mind. Scott's buying the 15, which is the right thing in their situation. They need to lay off uranium a little bit. Okay, now I'm not regretting the extra coal buys here. At least the one in last turn. The one in this last turn, I don't regret storing the extra coal then, that's for sure. Maybe even should have bought more. Anyway, this next build will be a jump into Boise. For me. Actually, is it Boise or Salt Lake? I think I'd rather do Boise because I want to keep my options open. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to keep my options open for building to trigger step 2 should that be needed. And amitss has a lot of open land to themselves. It's not the greatest open land, but still having a lot of open land is a pretty nice advantage when the rest of the players are so crowded over here. Stein's not too crowded, though. What Scott needs to do, Scott should build into Stein's land, I think. Like, someone needs to challenge Stein over here in the cheap stuff. Like, if you can jump into Philadelphia, then take Boston after that, it's worth it. Try to fence Stein in a little bit. The nice thing is coal stayed cheap enough that Stein's not getting a big money-making advantage over those of us with the 20 and the 21. And yep, Scott makes the right build there. I definitely agree with that one. I don't know about jumping to St. Louis. I still think Boise serves me better overall. I at least get one decently priced city from Boise, and it gives me greater connections for step 2. Oh, 28 came in, so 34 will go under the deck. That's the next plant to go under. $34 goes under, the 12 comes in. Ha ha! Market goes to crap once again. And this is just going to be a pass. There's no reason to buy any of these plants. Only thing is I could maybe see amitss buying the 19 if they're going to just build to 7 this turn. Because with 21 and 19, they can fire 7 cities for a decent price. But nope, they have to pass, which I think is overall the correct play. 19's just not worth it, especially with 24 right behind it in the market. Trash is going to just go to hell once that happens. Now coal's starting to get a little more painful, though. We know these people aren't going to build. I think you know, everything to me says that Scott is going to build. So yeah. I'm second to last in the turn order. I at least have a bunch of West Coast land I can take if I get blocked east. And this to me seems like amitss is preparing to, yeah, break the stall. Which is the correct move for them with the market getting as bad as it is. And Scott is one of the players who really needs plants. Scott's easily been doing the worst of anyone in the power plant department right now. So it was correct for them to build to, you know, building to 7 cities triggers step 2 and takes the lowest number plant out of the game, which is huge for moving the market. Problem is 18 came in to replace the 12, so... 36 came in, there's 18. To be honest, I'll actually click on the 24 here. Trash is really nice and cheap. Trash is nice and cheap. 24 is a bit of a lower numbered plant. This should be bid past 30 for sure. Because it's going to be a very good plant in terms of the turn order tiebreaker because it's a lower number than a lot of other plants will buy at this point. And it's going to fit well with my my 20. I think like the 24 is more valuable to me than other players because with me having the 20, this really big inefficient plant, because like I did not want 28. I want no part of 28 with 23 being in the game and being run. So I'm willing to... I paid, it was 31 or 32, was it, that I paid for the 24? I would easily take that over the 28 for that price. Oh no. Well, speak of the devil. Okay, 25 came in, 22 I forgot to mark off. Let me check. 14, 18, 25, 33, 36, 37, 50. So we know that 2 of the 7 capacity plants are in the game. Okay. So Stein now should be doing really great. In terms of like the efficiency game. Stein is doing fine now because 29 could very well be an endgame plant. Stein's going to have a lot of money to build. They can Stein can build second, can expand. I fully expect amitss to expand east here, thus they'll build into some of my cities. That 30, though, that was bad to see that coming. Bad, 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 bad. So this turn is going to depend on what the players below me do. Yep. I saw the trash buy coming. 30 was a fantastic drop. amitss might be the favorite to win this game now, in all honesty. I'll take 2 of the cheap coal. Always glad when I can get coal this cheap with the 20. Like, for being less than 30 bucks, I think the 20 is actually living up to that price for once. That's not usually a plant that I like. Meanwhile, Scott, I think, is just deader than dead. I feel like Scott's already lost this game. And it's kind of up in the air between the rest of us. Yeah, holy shit. Well, that is a decent blocking of Stein, at least. Stein's going to have to make some jumps. Like that. If they want to get anywhere. If he wants to get anywhere. Alright. I'm not too worried about going above Stein, because Stein's not a big threat to my coal. Nor is Scott, for that matter. Scott could very well replace the 15. Well, no. Scott's going to replace the 23 over more than 15. What I need to do in this situation is... I think I just take my... what do I do here? There we go. I can do it. Just barely, but I can get to 9 and get full value from both of my plants, which is very good news for me. And I will go below amitss in the turn order now, so trash will still be at a solid price for me. We'll have to see like how well 24 works out compared to 29. 29 is going to be a lot cheaper to run, but I'm thinking that the turn order advantage for 24 could be a bigger deal for me running the 20. That's my thought here. That's why I was willing to pay what I did for 24. I'm thinking that it pairs better with the 20 because 20 is a more turn order dependent plant. That's my thought process right now. So I'm actually second from bottom in the turn order, which is a great spot to be. For having 9 cities and getting full use out of my top 2 plants. Hey, 16! All right. And Stein's not going to buy it at this point, I think. 18 is a really, really good plant in 2 to 4 player games if it comes out earlier. But at this stage of the game, it's not doing a whole lot for you. Yep. And 17 comes. Okay. So, as of right now, amitss has to be the favorite to win this game, I think. Especially with oil getting stupidly cheap with the 21. I mean, 21 was expensive for amitss, but 21 is really paying off right now. And 30 at cost was amazing for them. Yeah. I think I'm going to buy the coal here. But at this point, really, I'm just playing for... I kind of feel like amitss has kind of won the game already. I have to say. They're in a good spot with building. You know, they have the connections to the East Coast. They got there before me. And they just have straight up better plants than I do. And got the 30. The 30 for cheaper... They paid less for the 30 than I did for the 24. That's what's going to win it for them. Just a really bad situation for my chances of winning. At this point, I think I'm just playing for second. And whether I get second depends on whether we have enough time for Stein here. Stein is doing his usual efficiency-based strategy. And it could very easily win it for him again here. Stein is the one that I feel has the best chance. His problem, though, is... with 2 more plants, the highest capacity he could reach... Well, he could get to 18 if he gets 2 7 plants, but I'm not sure how realistic that is. Amitss made a mistake not storing trash, by the way. And I am going to punish him for that on the next turn. Trust me. Definitely storing max trash here. Oil is literally getting down to 1. Holy shite. I'll just take the 1 coal for 3. Guess I might as well do that. I do feel like as cheap as these resources are, I think Stein's strategy is not as effective as usual because coal and oil both are actually staying pretty cheap here. I'll just build this one because it won't hurt my turn order at all, and it's a good bit of land to claim. Gets me that connection to Portland as well as being a decently priced city itself, Seattle is. Amitss is going to build out and win the game. Holy shit. Nice, nice, nice. And I only power 9, so I'm actually going to finish... This is hilarious. I'm only going to finish 3rd, and Stein's technically going to finish last because he only powers 7 cities. I would have finished 2nd if I bought enough coal to run the AX, but not that it matters. So this is an example of a 4-player game that ends before step 3, which is really rare. This happened because amitss got great builds, having, the whole West Coast available. That's not highly coveted land, so they're able to safely take that in step 2. Plus getting great plants. 21 turned out to be a beast with the cheap oil. And the 30 dropping at the end of that auction for them was amazing. That was what sealed it. Nobody else was winning at that point. Anyway, good game, amitss.